Hand if you think that's the case. Wow. Now, I've asked that question to thousands of U.S. citizens, and not a single one of them thinks that a person who has less than a high school education pays more in taxes than they get in government benefits. You know the only people who believe that? Right there! Right there! Because they're paid to believe that. They're paid by business that wants cheap labor to believe nonsense. Now the reality is that people, conservatives say, hey, we don't want a cradle-to-grave welfare state. Folks, you've had a cradle-to-grave welfare state since 1970. You have 80 different programs to aid poor people. They cost $1 trillion a year. You have the largest and most expensive government retirement system in Social Security and Medicare in the entire world. You have the largest and definitely the most expensive public education system in the entire world that costs $12,300 per student per year and is largely free to poor people. Now, let's think about that. What this bill does is takes a minimum of 11 million illegal immigrants who have an average education of 10th grade, and it makes them eligible for whose claim on your resources is that they broke American law. They broke American law. That's why they get all this money. Now you could ask, what? Well, Senator Rubio says that they're going to have to pay. Senator Rubio says that they're going to have to pay a penalty. This bill is tough. It's a tough bill. And so the reality is that they're going to pay $2,000 of penalty, and they're going to receive $590,000 of net benefits. Pretty good deal. How many of you would like to have that deal? You can't get that deal because you're not an illegal immigrant. The fact of the matter is, there's some myths here. One of the myths is, to just kind of shift the mode a little bit, is that a lot of people say to me, well, you know, if people come here and work, then they have to be net tax contributors. That has not been true since the 1920s, but the Republicans don't know that, okay? The fact of the matter is that we have a highly redistributive state. What is the biggest cash welfare program in the United States? It's something called the Earned Income Tax Credit. You can't get that unless you work, but you still spend about $80 billion a year on that welfare program. And so the reality is that even though the illegal immigrants for the most part will work, as many poor U.S.-born citizens also work, okay, that we have an overwhelming system of transfer that takes low-skilled workers and just gives them a lot more in benefits than we ask for them to pay in taxes. We give them essentially free education. We give them close to $1 trillion a year in welfare, and we give them Social Security and Medicare, even though they don't contribute very much into those systems. Now, the reality is that we can barely afford to do that system of redistribution for people that are here legally, for people that were born here, okay, to which we would consider many that we have some kind of obligation to care for them. But to give that same system of redistribution and transfer to 11 million people whose only claim on those resources is that they have contempt for U.S. laws makes no sense to me whatsoever. And this type of low-wage parent, the average illegal immigrant makes about $22,000 a year. There's no way that they pay the cost of that education, so somebody else had to pay for that. And so the bottom line is that even under current law, the illegal immigrants cost the U.S. taxpayer, benefits minus taxes, they cost the U.S. taxpayer $54 billion every year. And we get to the real point of the bill, which is to give these people everything that they could possibly get from the government. Then the cost of the illegal immigrants as a group is going to go up to around $110 billion a year. And that's the good news, because once they each reach retirement age, we've now made them eligible for Social Security and Medicare, two programs which you may have noticed are already bankrupt. But we decided to fix that by adding an additional 11 million people with a 10th grade education into those programs. And it's going to help a whole lot. But once they get into those programs, the cost is $160 billion a year, and goes on until they're no longer with us. Now, another interesting point in this bill is that it redefines what full employment means in the United States. You know, I'm an old guy, and when I first went into politics, full employment was 4% unemployment. Okay? Now we kind of been sneaking that up over time, but this bill says that full employment is 8.5% unemployment. And it says, because it's a compassionate bill and it cares about American citizens, it says that as long as the unemployment rate is under 8.5%, we're going to have one single day by Republicans or Democrats. Right. Without any significant impediment from the U.S. government, no matter what that law says. Now, we're back here again. Very astute. And you know what they're saying? Amazing man. We need to give amnesty to 11 million illegal immigrants. They're not even promising that this is the last amnesty. We're talking serial amnesty here, okay? We're going to do this about every 5 years under this plan. But we're going to give amnesty to 10 million, and you know what? We promise you that in the future, and that's a very optimistic assessment, because what's really going to happen here is that people in other countries are going to say, oh my goodness, all you have to do is come to the United States illegally, and then every 5 to 10 years they're going to... And the reality is that the National Academy of Sciences says that low-skill immigration pushes down the wages of low-skill American workers by $2,600 a year, okay? Now maybe if you've got a PhD from Harvard, $2,600 a year doesn't mean that much to you. We'll get benefits. And you want to say, well, why did you say that? Why is it 4 and not 11 or 12 or 8 or something like that? We're CBO. We say it's 4. Well, why is it 4? Because we say it is, you know? Could you explain how you came to that conclusion? No, we're CBO.
CBO is bullshit!
So that's why the CBO score. You know, last time we did amnesty, the CBO guys came over to my office at Heritage and they said, you know, this was in 2007, they said, you know, we're going to be costing this bill and you're going to be costing this bill, so we want to just talk the things over about how we're going to do this. And so we had an exciting conversation about things like the marginal elasticity of demand for labor and other things that I know y'all are dying to hear about. But at one point in the conversation I said, you know, the big enchilada here is that you're taking then was about 9 million people and you're making them eligible for Social Security and Medicare. And I said, have y'all over there at CBO, have y'all thought about that? They said no. I said, are you going to think about that? No. They said no. I said, why is that? Well, it's beyond the 10-year budget window. So you know what? CBO didn't want to think about that, so I did.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell the truth to CNN if they can understand it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, okay.
Listen to the answer this time.
Hi, I'm Elise William with Huffington Post. Can you hear me okay? I had 2 quick wanted to ask, there have been some reports that some of the conservative members will try and vote against even an enforcement bill just so that you make sure that something doesn't go to conference so that can't happen. Secondly, I wanted to ask Congressman King about the Des Moines Register poll that came out today. It said that people support more border security, but also a majority of Iowans support a path to citizenship. I was wondering what you're thinking.
You know, I have yet to see an American citizen who says, you know what I want is a path to citizenship where the illegal immigrant pays $2,000 in fines until we're sure that we've secured the border. And how do we measure that? Well, he says, you know what? He is tougher than the Gang of Eight bill, which says we're going to have a plan for border security. Okay, because that's pretty tough. But Senator Cornyn is much tougher. He says that we're going to have what he calls operational control, which means that 90% of the people that are coming across the border, we're going to apprehend them. Now, you might ask the question, since they're coming across hidden and invisible, do that? What do you think? It doesn't measure it at all. So what you will actually have under this bill is that the Congress, who never lies to you, is going to say we have tough border security, and we measure that by a percentage of an unknowable number. Meanwhile, over here in the annual census survey, we're going to show 400,000 or 500,000 illegal immigrants coming into.
Thank you for coming to this all-day seminar press conference that we're having today. We're having this press conference outside the halls of Congress because, as Congressman Steve King has said, we haven't had much of a discussion yet inside the halls of Congress. But we knew if we held a press conference and we talked about a subject that was near and dear to the American people, we knew that we would have a lot of people who are interested. It has nothing to do with the color of anyone's skin. It has nothing to do with anyone's ethnicity. It has to do with our American creed. Because bottom line, we are believers and proud believers in the Declaration of Independence. We are not ashamed, we are proud of the Constitution of the United States of America. In the polls, Harry Reid announces rush to pass immigration bill. Do you think it had something to do with all of the people here on the lawn today? Well, let me read you just a little bit. With a new poll showing falling support for the Gang of Eight comprehensive immigration reform bill, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid has announced an accelerated schedule in which the Senate would take a final up or down vote on passing the bill by the end of the week. What day is it today? When would be the end of the week? Friday. Don't you think it's a good idea we're here today? Sometimes I wonder if it isn't real people that the politicians fear more than anything else. We're seeing a lot of real people here today, and I am so extremely grateful that you're here. Steve hosted this event today. It began at 9 o'clock this morning. There were a number of you here then, hearty and early souls, all of you. Thank you for coming. We're going to go until noon, and then there'll be a lunch break, and then about 2 o'clock, we are not done. We are coming back. We're going to have special guests that are going to be here. Lots and lots of members want to talk to you today. And so we want to have the members here, and we're going to talk to you about how this issue is impacting our district. Let me tell you about one thing that people talk about in my district, in Minnesota's 6th congressional district, and it's this. We're told a lot, we're often lectured that we are not compassionate because we don't believe in open borders. And we're told that we aren't compassionate because we aren't willing to let the entire world come into the United States any time of their choosing. Now, is that compassion? Here's an analogy. For a lot of people, they believe in giving to good and worthy causes. Many people who are Christians believe that you give 10% to your church. Right. And maybe you give tithes, and maybe you give offerings beyond that. Right. Would we say that someone is not compassionate because they chose not to give 100% of what they earn? No. Would they be considered not compassionate? No. So take a look at this building behind us, and if you go a little bit further down on Pennsylvania Avenue, just blocking the view to the White House is a building called the United States Treasury. If you walk into that building, the United States Treasury, and if you can get past the guards that are there, and you get over to the vault, and you say, by some miracle, would you open that vault? I'm just here to tell you, if they opened it, it would be moths and feathers that would fly out. That's because this building behind me, together with the man living at 1600 Pennsylvania, have broken the bank. They have broken your bank. We are in bankruptcy right now today. Why can I say that? Because we are spending more money than what we're taking in. And what have we heard from one of the earlier speakers, Robert Rector? He told us that amnesty costs a fortune. Amnesty could also cost something more than just money.
Our country!
It could cost a nation. Because at the worst possible time in our economic history, just when baby boomers are coming to the point where they are entitled to draw down on Social Security, they are entitled to draw down on Medicare. Now when Obamacare in 6 months will be implemented in 2014, when there will be access to 80 different means-tested welfare programs, when you have all of that on the table, when your government every year is spending almost double what it takes in, and when we're looking at demanding that much more of that treasury, which is effectively bankrupt, we're going to be bringing in tens of millions of new people who will be drawing down more than what they're able to pay in. I ask you, is there anyone here who is under the age of 18? Do we have any? We do. We have people here under the age of 18. We love our young people. Right here. Come up here. Come up here. Stand right up here. Here's our future. Anyone else who's under the age of 18? Anyone else? Come on up. Come on up. You're welcome up here. If you're under the age of 18, you come up. You're welcome here. You come on up. If you're under the age of 18, we want you up here. You come on up. We love you. You're up. Love them. Love them. Because I want you to know, those who were a part of the revolutionary generation, those who fought and bled and died and put their treasure and their reputations and their homesteads on the line for us during the era of 1776, I want you to know they were not thinking about their personal peace nor their comfort. You see, what they did is they looked beyond into the future, and they saw us standing here today on this lawn. That's what they saw, because they looked into the future and they saw this beautiful beacon that one day came on this hill. And that is my charge to all of us today. Let us too look into the face of the future. They're beautiful and they're here and they're among us and we love them. Out of a heart of compassion and love, don't we want for them what every prior generation wanted for us and gave us? A better future, a higher standard of living. Should we steal from them a higher standard of living? Should we steal from them their future? You see, I believe that is the voice of America. I believe that is what we want, a better future for these beautiful children, an America that is better than the one that we have today. That's why Harry Reid will not succeed, despite what he says. We're here. We're here. We're loud. We're not going anywhere. And in spite of the fact that I will not be seeking a 5th term to represent the great people of the 6th District of Minnesota, I am here to say to the Liberals, I am here for a long, 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 long time. As long as God gives breath in my body, I am here because of these beautiful children. God bless you. God bless America. Hi, Karen.
That baby is so tall.
What do you want?
From the mountains to the valleys to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America.
Now, just to let you know, the press conference is not over. We are here